most important thing to remember when you're talking to a Texan is to remember the fact that we like to bring up how weird and special where we're from is. It's not really that weird or that special. Well, it's weird, but it's not that special. What it is it's full of people who have created kind of the same dichotomy that we have here in Bakersfield, where there's these huge cities that are just packed full of progressives and, opera houses, the biggest, most beautiful libraries you've ever seen. In my memory of public school where I grew up, my public education was enriching and full of museum trips and field trips. I saw operas as a kid. I thought it was wonderful. Science and literature, these things were really huge. I come out here to California and I'm like, wow, California's going to have like the most awesome public education system. Yeah, no. It's shameful. It's unbelievable. Like, I just talking to all of my friends who are about my age in California. They've all read the exact same California Lit. We all know Beowulf. Yeah, good for you. Oh my God, nobody who's my age knows trigonometry. Nobody, other than the engineers. Well, of course you do, Whitney, because you're awesome. But for the most part, when I talk about science, when I talk about, physics to my friends, I have to walk out and find the nerds. Otherwise, I'll just randomly say, so I was totally working on this equation the other day. I was barbecuing because I just, I got to find this. So why is it that, like Texas, the hotbed of conservatism, has all of these great infrastructural additions and things that are just amazing? And I'll tell you why it is. Slightly, it's favoritism. They basically have done an excellent job of building an infrastructure that supports some of those ideas in the big cities. Leave a city like Houston, walk outside Austin or Dallas, it's just like Bakersfield. It's just like Bakersfield. What's interesting about living here is it's a slice of life about all of America. When you look at Bakersfield, you're looking at a place that emulates everything about America. All of our cultural isolations, all of our ways of talking, and all the ways that we communicate with each other and relate to each other. Really, Bakersfield it's like a little miniature America. And have you ever wondered why it is that conservatives all repeat the exact same talking points when you see them on Fox News? Like chapter and verse, they say the same things. You ever notice that your friends who are conservative use almost the exact same chapter and verse? It's because conservatives are masters at branding their message. We're not. The GOP gets on point. And that was the theme for me tonight when I was talking to Chris and the guys about what we were going to talk about. Regardless of how all conservatives seem like they're saying the same thing, the truth is they come from all walks of life. They have different ideas. They're not all sitting around jackbooted, They're a pretty wide variety of people. But what conservatives have done is they've capitalized on branding a handful of things that they collectively agree on, and then built an effective system for getting that message out and getting on point. When their leaders decide to tackle a topic, they send out emails that trickle down to all the local leaders, and when they get up in front of Fox News, they all say exactly the same thing. They don't even work that hard on trying not to repeat the email. They don't. It's kind of like trickle-down verbonomics. Kind of works that way. Another thing is a lot of them meet on Sundays and talk about what they're going to talk about in what we like to refer to as churches, but are actually political action committees, a lot of large portions of this country. And so they'll tune into Fox News, and they'll hear these condensed quotable sound bites about these topics, and they will get it. They'll load their lips. The way conservatives own their message is by deliberately simplifying the circumstances of virtually any topic so that it fits inside the ideas that most conservatives can agree with. Sure, there are conservatives who won't agree 100% with everything Fox News says. And believe me, there are a lot who don't. I just registered as a Democrat. I have been a Republican my entire adult life. I know. I have been a proud Republican my entire life. Even though I was always pro-choice, and even though I was, always of the idea that, the new deal was like the greatest thing ever, and Social Security was the most solid foundation of our finances we've ever had. I had all of these crazy liberal ideas, but I still had these ideas that the government that governs least governs best. It just so happened that it took me about 20 some odd years for me to finally say, okay, fine, that's so not a problem right now That's such a low priority to even be worried about giant overreaching government. Whatever. I've got kids who are sitting around reading curriculum that just tries to teach them math with a novel-length paragraph that's asking them, basically 2 plus 2, read this huge novel to learn how to do math. Does that make sense to you? No, it doesn't make sense to you. And the reason it doesn't make sense to you is because you're a logical person, you're reasonable, and you understand what math is. That's one of the reasons why I'm so happy about Common Core. It's gone across the country. It's one of the reasons why I'm so proud to see that we're going to be abandoning some ideas that have really been like the foundations of a lot of principles that people from all over the country held to be really, really important. What happened to those principles? Why did they go down? They went down because, quite frankly, people finally stood up and said, hey, in a very short little soundbite, that's stupid. That's dumb. Hey, we don't like the idea of these people being treated like they're second-class citizens. These slow little pockets of equality have taken fire. And the reason they have is because the people who are speaking are really persecuted. Their backs are against the wall. Immigrants, gays and lesbians. Why is it these people are able to cut through our cultural smokescreen and get their voices heard so well? Because they're being held underwater practically. I mean, they're being told, no, you don't get to have the same equality as the rest of us. Privilege is just oppressing them. So what do? What happens when you put somebody against the wall? What happens when you corner an animal? That's why we're looking at these incredible voices that are coming from all over America that completely crosses every divide, and we're seeing people who are assertive, and they're getting the point across really quickly, and it's just cutting through that us versus them mentality that has been manufactured to maintain the system that keeps your conservative friends thinking they're being under attack. Does anybody in this country think conservatism is under attack? Even though you're probably the people hurling lobs at them. Does anybody feel like it's under attack? You live in a town that voted 75% to approve Prop 8. 80? I am so proud to be in a room where somebody corrected me with 5% more to drive my point home. GOP has pointed the finger at specific groups and labeled them the enemy or lazy freeloaders, and they have basically told their followers that only they are the true patriots. Everybody else hates America. It's a really smart way to make people feel like they're a group, they're a cohesive unit. Yeah, all those gays and freeloaders. Oh, yeah. Have you ever heard of the gay agenda or the Hollywood gays? That's a great one. Sit down at lengthwise and get yourself a goat nut. Lean back and just wait 5 minutes. 5 minutes. That's all it's going to take. The propaganda machine is something that makes liberals sick to their stomach, and I understand why, but it's something we need to get over. We can get on point without drinking Kool-Aid. The difference between the GOP and us is that we're not owned by the Koch brothers or the special interests who want to turn our country into a wasteland. They want to turn us into Walmart shoppers. We're not lining up to consume whatever they give us and whatever jobs they've decided to create for us. We can own our message and be passionate about our liberal ideas without having to make everyone act the same way. And this is important because, as I said earlier, there's a lot of noise out there. The way we cut through that noise is by pooling together and being proud of our liberal credentials. Liberals are the big tent party. We come from an even wider range of ideas, and we like it that way, and we should be proud of that. We also have some shared ideas that conservatives have, and we can rally around those shared ideas. It's important that we have differences of opinion because those are what make us rich and an interesting fabric. But you know what? A lot of the things that are good stuff about our nature are the reasons that we lose elections, the reason we're lazy about our message. There's a reason there's apathy out there. And that reason is because, yeah, we win elections when a guy like Bush drives us 8 years off the rails, when he literally crashes the economy because of deregulation and a $4 or $5 trillion unnecessary pile of wars. The moment our guy gets in office, though, we're like, hey, happily ever after, credits roll, I'm out of the theater. Why is that? Well, we don't bother keeping the pressure on the airwaves and looking for sound bites and just being a giant pestering pain in the ass. Sometimes we just want a bagel. I just want to have a good day. I just want to relax. I don't want to be the champion for social justice all the time. I'd like to just, chill out. And our generation doesn't have the luxury of chilling out and being lazy about what's right. They don't. We have to get to the point where we stop acting like being passionate about equality and justice is something to be ashamed of. We need to be proud of our liberal credentials, and we need to be proud of our accomplishments as liberals, and we need to call ourselves liberals. We need to be proud of that. I'm sick and tired of people talking about Jimmy Carter like he had a failed presidency. That guy owned. He was also a peanut farmer who was kind of an affable guy. But you know what's really awesome about guys like Jimmy Carter? He stood up in front of the entire country and said, "You're wrong. You're arrogant, you got no spine, and you're wrong." Subsequently, that ticked off a lot of Americans. He didn't win his next election. But you know what? He was like, boom, drop the mic. Before they ever started dropping mics, he was totally drop the mic. That was really cool. The New Ideal is all about that. We want you to drop the mic, but not the one that belongs to the high school. We'll get one specifically. I like the sound guy laughed at that. We need to outrage some of our liberal friends by sharing when we see injustice. And we need to challenge those friends to get registered to vote. And we need to piss off some of our Facebook friends. We just do. It's not always easy. It's not always comfortable. And believe me, as an armchair activist, I have just been annoying my Facebook friends. And I love that this room full of liberals have all disagreed with me on at least one or two topics. Bless you. I really appreciate that. But you know what? We need to stop worrying about how our conservative friends are being manipulated by the puppet masters and just cut those strings. Cut it for them. We need to attack the ideas that are toxic. We need to take them from the top, and we need to put our voices together and say, no, that's wrong. You want a culture war? You got it. Liberals, get on point. Fight for universal human rights. Fight against the special interest. Fight against anti-intellectualism. Fight against privilege. And fight inequality. Do it. Don't stop. Even if you don't feel like it, then go out and have a bagel. But you don't have to drink the Kool-Aid. And it's really important to understand that. My getting on point message is kind of important. I'd like to talk about a toxic idea that I've seen spreading across America, and it's just bad. And we need to get to the point where we're used to challenging this. The idea is, if I don't agree with your law, I don't have to follow it. It's a toxic idea, and you've seen it a lot lately. Maybe you've heard the story about Cliven Bundy, the deadbeat rancher out in Nevada who won't pay his taxes. He's a hero to anti-government military whack jobs. Did you see his friends sitting out there hiding behind concrete barriers? Like freedom fighter heroes, also known as terrorists, also known as traitors. Sitting out there pointing guns at Bureau of Land Management employees because they're going to take these cattle. That guy's been dodging taxes for years. Mr. Bundy doesn't recognize the federal government, so he just doesn't bother. I don't believe in it. I don't got to follow your law. Okay. Maybe you heard of Hobby Lobby. They're got a big lawsuit in front of the Supreme Court. You see, basically, they're asking for their personal religious beliefs of their craft store to exclude all of their employees from the federal labor laws so they can treat them unequally. The CEO of the company, David Green, and his family, they're unquestionably religious people, and they've got religious freedoms, but they want their religious freedoms to infringe on the freedoms and liberties of their employees. The Affordable Care Act mandates that every company give them equal access to birth control. Well, it violates my religious beliefs. I don't have to follow that law. Again, I don't believe in it. I don't have to follow it. It's a toxic idea. Here's my get on point message. Your freedoms end at the point where they infringe on the freedoms of somebody else. I'm going to say that again. Your freedom ends at the point where it infringes on somebody else. You're free to swing your arm until you hit your neighbor's nose. This is a simple idea. It has been twisted around for so long. It doesn't need to be. Everybody in this room can say that. Because when you say, I don't want to pay my taxes, you're hitting the kid in the lunch line in the nose. You're hitting the fireman trying to save somebody's life in the nose. When you say, well, my religious rights say that I don't have to pay for your sin, you're forgetting that the Constitution doesn't recognize that standard for what's right and wrong. We understand and respect your religion. It's an important part of the framework of our liberty. But we're also a land of immigrants, full of a lot of different approaches to religion and liberty. And your Buddhist accountant can probably totally respect your beliefs, Hobby Lobby, but they don't want to get pregnant. And you don't get to say, well, you don't get to do it. You have to do what I say. That equal access is necessary. Just because your religion says it's right or wrong doesn't mean that we have to force it on everybody else. Regardless of what you think, you are subject to the laws of the land. We made these laws together with a system of self-governance. Remember that, of the people, by the people, for the people. Say it. Get to the point where that's on your lips. Repeat it. Government is us. It's not some evil, just monstrosity up there with a long hook nose. Hey, it's the government. Toss that outside. It is garbage. It's you and me. We are government. We self-govern ourselves. You don't get to circumvent that entire system just because you don't agree with it. You want to change the laws? Win more elections. Persuade more people to believe what you believe, and then make laws that represent them. Just make sure they don't violate the Constitution or they'll be thrown out. You have a second option. You could bring court challenges, like Hobby Lobby's doing, but they better not violate the Constitution or they get thrown out either. Anybody remember Prop 8? 80%. It was tossed out. Even though the religious views of Californians are important and valid, they don't give anybody the right to say that gay people have less rights than straight people. Your freedoms end at the point where they infringe on the freedoms of someone else. Go home and remember that. Yes, your rights are important. They're extremely important. Anybody tries to take away the rights of religious people in this country, I'll be the first in line to say, shut up. It's important, it's valid, it's a necessary patch of the framework, all of our liberty. But we don't allow human sacrifice for religion either. There's a reason we don't. There's a line, and that's where your freedom is like all right here. I would say it's arm's length, but it could be even further because you can say things that hurt other people. Tell a gay person they're just going to go to hell. Okay, sure, that's your point of view. Good for you. That's cool. Doesn't matter what you believe. The state of California doesn't throw people in hell. The state of California and the U.S. government, they don't judge for sin. We do send people to the DMV, and that's arguably pretty close. The third option is that you could just bribe more politicians with campaign contributions. And that's really important to point out because none of the corporations want Hobby Lobby to win their case, if you've noticed. If you read the financial section of your newspaper or online, you'll notice that corporate America has been pretty quiet about this whole Hobby Lobby discussion because if Hobby Lobby wins, the protection of the corporate umbrella disappears. And that's a really important thing to talk about because that's the real motivation of the GOP, lining the pockets of the wealthy elitists who are pulling the strings. Do you think the Koch brothers want the Hobby Lobby to win? Not a chance. Every CEO and every shareholder of every corporation would instantly be subject to lawsuits. Every investment they've ever made could get them in court when their company screws over a whole bunch of people or incurs a bunch of debt because they lied. Guess who's liable? The shareholder. You want to talk about, remember how quickly Wall Street went, yeah, it'll happen so quick it'll create its own singularity. It'll never happen. The U.S. Supreme Court's probably going to rule against it. And the reason is because it's hogwash. I guarantee you, though, the Koch brothers love Clive Bundy. Oh, they love that rancher. He just gave a big old middle finger to the IRS. And boy, oh boy, the Koch brothers love giving middle fingers to the IRS. So did GE. So it's like every other major corporation out there. They pay zero taxes, or they get subsidies from us. They get welfare, and they hate welfare, and they get more of it than anybody. Do you think $200 billion for the oil companies of America over the last 10 years is a reasonable welfare give out? I don't know about you, but I don't like the gas pump prices. I know that my conservative friends hate the gas pump prices. Why are they getting $200 billion? Could you imagine what a fraction of that would be like in the education sector? Oh, you want to pay for a border wall. It'd be like a tiny sliver of that. Oh, but let's give it to the oil companies because they make our jabs. Again, they don't want to pay for the taxes that you have to pay. They don't pay the equal share because they think they're better than you. They're on record saying they think they're better than you. If they don't believe in it, they don't have to do it. The crooks are just manipulating the good-intentioned people who are conservatives. Your friends are not evil, dumb people. And I say your friends because you live in Bakersfield, and if you don't have any conservative friends, well, you're a weirdo. I mean, you may live in your basement and just watch Family Guy all day, but seriously, get out and hang out with some of your conservative friends. You'll find out they're normal people, but they've got things that are priorities for them. Those priorities are very easy to manipulate and twist. Just make, those dark-skinned people and the poor folks the enemy. It's real easy to do that. And it's real easy with your propaganda to label the enemy and to set what your goals are. And it's real easy to say, well, you know, all them scientists and all that book learning, you don't need all that. All you need is a couple of simple things. Get to work, don't have to worry about paying your taxes, drive your pickup truck. I mean, come on. Dumb it all down? Really? There's no challenge more important to our generation than getting money out of politics. Every bit of that rhetoric that you hear, all that stuff, that's what money paid for. Your generation, my generation, we want to fight for universal equality, we want to fight for education and economy, but that is exactly why we have to get money out of politics. It's the fight of our generation, and if we will lose it if they outspend us. It doesn't matter that social conservatives keep fighting us on immigration, all those other things. These arguments will mean nothing if we can't get voter laws that, you know, basically exclude liberals. We can't get past that. The Koch brothers buy local elections so that they can rig the system. You're not going to win that if we're not getting money out of politics. I could talk about every single social issue that you care about here and say, yeah, still second on the list underneath getting money out of politics, because that money perpetuates those stupid ideas, those immoral ideas. So if you're a liberal, do something. You don't have to, I know some of us are burned out. Whitney talked about it. It's like, there's only a few of us. So it's kind of hard in cities like this. It'd be real easy in a city like New York. You can just drop the mic and it'll land on a liberal. Ha! Yeah, I know. It's extra work for us living in a red city. I know. But we're a red city surrounded in a giant blue sea. You can rely on your friends. You can rely on yourself. You can rely on me. Believe me, I'll chew your conservative friends out for you. Just show me where they are. I kind of thrive on that. For once in your life, just once, email your congressperson or tag them in a tweet. You tweet and email all day. You can do it. It's not even 5 minutes when I say take 5 minutes to email your congressperson. Please, you know how quickly you can tag somebody? Tag them and say, dude, get money out of politics. There are bills right now designed to make this kind of thing happen. Here's some things you should know about. Politicians can take cushy jobs when they leave politics. When they leave the House, when they leave the Senate, they can take a job with an oil company, pays them crazy amount of money for years. Does that sound right to you? Even a company that lobbied them, that should not be allowed. They're given zero interest loans by banks. There's a local California congressional leader who got a really lovely bank loan from an oil company. You may have heard of it. It happens. They also go on book signing circuits where they get paid like 50 grand just to show up. None of that stuff should be allowed. There are ways to bribe your politicians. We're liberals. How many times have we seen Obama do something where, you know, the last couple of FCC chair people just happen to be Comcast employees? There went net neutrality yesterday. They tossed it out. Oh, yeah, we're going to fight for net neutrality. No, we're not, because we appointed a bunch of industry insiders. Sorry. Oh, public option? Psh, yeah, whatever. Golden nugget to the health insurance industry. You feel played? I felt played. I got liberal credentials as long as my arm. I know you got them even longer. Get angry. We can win this. It just takes money. And that money that we have can't match what the Koch brothers has. So you need to get working with this, working with these. Tag your congresspeople. Become that annoying liberal who all your friends can't stand. Dude, this town is small enough. They're going to see you again. They can't really run that far. Tick them off. Be a proud liberal. Thank you for coming to The New Ideal.